Steve Keen, who's an economic historian and an author who joins us now from Bangkok. Steve, I wonder if your reaction, given your title that we've just announced, would be different to a normal person. So are you as shocked and surprised as, say, I am?
Not at all, because one of the great weaknesses of income tax is that it's very easy to exaggerate your expenses or to relocate your income in places where you pay extremely low rates of tax. I once had a holiday in the Cayman Islands and visited the head office of News Limited, for example, which was a whitewashed building with another 50 or 60 companies' name plaques on the outside and nobody there. But that was where News Limited declared most of its profits. So it's very easy for the ultra wealthy to evade income taxes.
And presumably the tax rules haven't changed that much, that this must have been going on for a long, long time. And you can't blame necessarily maybe the individuals if the law exists and they can use the law to benefit themselves.
That's correct. And unfortunately, what you have to look at is, well, just how effective is income tax at actually getting money from the rich? And of course, it's very easy for the rich to relocate their apparent source of income. It's virtually impossible for the poor to do that. So you get the outrageous situation where, as you see, Bezos and Musk pay a far lower proportion of their income in tax than somebody earning $25,000 a year.
So if it's not a legal issue because they are complying with the law, when does it become a moral issue? And then how do you proceed from there in terms of changing the law? Because people's morals are different. And as we say, if the rich people are complying with the law, and then if Jeff Bezos comes back, or say Bill Gates or Warren Buffett comes back and says, but look at how much money I've been giving to charities.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of what we're seeing over Bill Gates recently has put a challenge on whether you can rely upon charity alone for the right thing to be done. But fundamentally, it comes back to what is the role of income tax? And we normally perceive income tax as being a way of raising revenue for government spending. But in fact, one thing which we are now learning through what's called modern monetary theory is the government doesn't tax in order to spend. It spends. It's a government is a money creator. So we don't need the income tax for the purposes of financing what government does. But we're trying, in fact, to take money out of circulation, because if the government simply spent and didn't tax, there'd be an enormous increase in money in the economy and massive inflation courtesy of that. Now, what has ended up is that the rich can evade any of the repayment of government money through income tax. So I'm actually in favor of things like transaction taxes on the corporations themselves before it gets to the billionaires, and in that way put the burden on the companies taking that money out of circulation. Transaction taxes are much harder to evade because to actually declare an income in the first place, you have to declare those transactions. So I think we need to reduce the emphasis upon income tax and increase it upon transaction taxes.
Steve, what do you make of the argument that if the US were to tighten the legal requirements for income tax, it might actually make the country less competitive because these billionaires create wealth just through the business enterprises that they start?
Well, what really creates wealth is people spending. And the billionaires, even though they spend outrageous amounts of money on individual items, spend far less of their money than the working class would if they had the same amount of money in their bank accounts. So what we really have to do is work out a way of getting money into workers' hands rather than the hands of billionaires. And that's things like universal basic income, job guarantees, and a decent minimum wage. Now, if we do all that, we can reduce the importance of these income tax rorts in the first place. So we have to rethink the government. Income tax is a mechanism the rich can evade very easily. And if we rely upon that, then the burden of taking money out of circulation falls on the working class and the poor. And that is just unfair.
And we can't start reconstructing or deconstructing capitalism right now. Steve Keen, thank you so much indeed for your time, Steve. Really appreciate it.